Of course, the DeWanna Bonner news would come out while I'm out. But I can't say that it caught me by surprise because it certainly didn't. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's surprising. DeWanna Bonner signs a free agent contract with the Indiana Fever. And after a handful of games, once out, once a Fever exit, apparently. And that is a strange situation, right? Because she was embraced. She had her achievement at the beginning of the season, moving up the scoring ranks. They were referring to her as Mama Bear in training camp. And now all of a sudden that has fallen apart. She was out of the starting lineup, hadn't really produced that much, particularly on the offensive end. And this, looks poor on the franchise when it comes to the free agent moves in retrospect, the team that they put together in the offseason. I don't think it reflects well on DeWanna Bonner, whose absence was for quote unquote personal reasons, but now it seems like she was just upset with the team and the situation overall. And it adds more drama to what has been a drama-filled season for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. So, when I say it didn't catch me by surprise, anybody with any intuition could sort of see that this was getting odd. The amount of time that she had missed with no explanation as to why, no timeline on her return, not making the road trip, all of these things, the lack of information and the basic mystery would be enough to get anybody's spidey sense tingling about this situation. But on top of that, I'll tell you this much. I heard that it was more basketball related than anything else over the weekend. I had heard that and I was looking into it. I didn't have enough to report it on the record, because obviously when you report something on the record, you need to know the exact source, where it came from, hear from the things that go into that. But I did hear that DeWanna Bonner was not exactly thrilled with the situation, and it may have been more basketball related than anything else, which appears to be confirmed by this news. And it's just a bummer. Let's call it a DeWanna Bonner bummer, because she didn't live up to the expectations for the team. Obviously, the situation didn't live up to her expectations. It creates more of a mess for the players who are still there. The coach who she coached before now has to deal with it. The franchise is left holding the salary cap space that Bonner eats up. And they have to adjust on the fly because the roster now needs to be improved. Here was what Stephanie White had to say before the Storm game about the DeWanna Bonner situation. As you would expect, not much.
Obviously, there were reports today that DB isn't or doesn't intend to return to the team. Just what conversations have you had with her and with the front office about that?
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations recently. Really been focused on the group that we have right here, and what we need to do to position ourselves to win.
So I'm here with who's going to be here with me, who's going to be in the trenches with me. Because DeWanna Bonner kind of quit. I don't know if there's a better word for it. She kind of quit. We've sort of seen some of this stuff in the NBA where players demand trades or act in a certain way to get a trade. I mean, most notably Jimmy Butler this past season and James Harden. We've seen it before, and it plays out as a public spectacle. Maybe the WNBA, this team in particular, has more eyes on them, so it becomes a bigger story. But that absence wasn't just going to be able to be like, oh, nobody cares. Where's DeWanna Bonner? Oh, she's fine. She's going to be away for 5 games and miss, an entire road trip and all that. And think about what the Fever have already been through this season. Stephanie White was away from the team for a while. Caitlin Clark was injured. Integrating new players. Sophie Cunningham was injured. The Angel Reese thing at the beginning of the season. The thing with the Connecticut Sun. And then everybody's like, that eventually is going to infiltrate. And if they struggle a little bit, which they have an impact on your mood as well, which is something Caitlin Clark addressed before the game, not in direct correlation with this, but just basically that spirit, that feeling, and finding the joy. As Shawn Michaels once lost his smile in WWE, Caitlin's trying to find hers.
With all the spotlight that's always surrounding the team and everything, everywhere you go, is it hard to maintain the same joy just in the game as when you were a kid playing, or have you always been able to kind of hold on to that? What's it been like? Is there so much outside of basketball that's always kind of swerving?
I mean, I think I always that's the reason I play. And I think that's when I'm at my best, is like when I'm smiling, when I'm having fun. And so just, trying to always remind myself of that. And obviously, I'm an athlete competing at the highest level. I'm a perfectionist, and you want to be really good every single night. And, when you're not, that can frustrate you. But I think it's just reminding yourself of why you play this game, and, how much fun you've had doing it over the course of, however many years it's been since you were a little kid. So I don't think that's changed at all. That's the reason I still play. And, this is what I've always dreamed of. So, for me, like, it's just fun, and it's just a game at the end of the day.
And you hope Caitlin Clark can keep that energy the rest of the season. I think everybody wants to see that from her. But obviously, stuff like this gets to a team as well. Now, the question is, where do the Fever go from here? Well, they'll seek out a trade. That's going to be option number one, seeking out a trade. But that is going to be difficult. Finding a trade for DeWanna Bonner is going to be difficult at her age and at her salary, knowing that everybody knows she wants out. So I wouldn't count on a great return for the Fever if a trade is even able to be made. The next thing is what could be done with her salary cap space once it's off the books. Ari McDonald is a player a lot of Fever fans are going to want to see back in the fold. That becomes more of a possibility now. Obviously, the front court depth has to be addressed. Damiris Dantas is going to be away for a minute. Bree Turner isn't it. Maybe Michaela Timpson needs a little bit more run. A lot of these offseason signings in retrospect, and trust me, I was high on them. So this is not me, pretending I wasn't. But Natasha Howard's been okay, and maybe this galvanizes her because she was competing with DeWanna Bonner in a way, just because similar body types, similar position, and it was Bonner who got moved to the bench. So maybe this frees up Howard just a little bit, but Turner's giving you nothing. Colson's been okay for what she is, I guess, but doesn't really elevate the team at all. Sophie Cunningham has been a nice addition, obviously, but overall, it wasn't this free agency frenzy bonanza, and the Fever got a little older. Now I think they got to go the other direction and look for athleticism. I mean, look, if Emma Miesemann, I don't know her situation, that's a name you're going to hear a lot, playing overseas, starring overseas. You got to kick the tires on everything and see what's available. And obviously you want to bring the best players available in, and especially the best players available who fill those holes now. And now they've got a hole in the front court, I think, because Bonner's defense is going to be missed. The Fever have been scored on in the paint more than any other team in the last 9 games. So Bonner's defense is going to be missed. You have to make up for that length a little bit. If you can do it with length and athleticism, and especially somebody who could spread the floor, I mean, that would be perfect. But those players aren't just out there freely to poach. And then the backup playmaking was another issue, and that's where McDonald helped in the short period of time. But we'll see how the Fever move on. I mean, they still got their core. They've still got Clark and Mitchell and Boston and Hull, and you add Cunningham and Howard, and we'll see where they go. But we can't say, even if it turns out for the best, that in the meantime, the situation wasn't a DeWanna Bonner bummer.